So, good morning, guys. It is 10 o'clock, so we are going to get started. Steve, if you would go ahead and mute everyone. You guys can unmute yourselves if you have any questions or comments. And please, I encourage you guys to participate in this discussion. So what we're going to try and do today is the purpose of this call is to help everyone understand the business side of real estate and to be able to develop a compelling business plan that's going to allow you guys to be able to achieve your goal. And this is going to be focused on just the fourth quarter of this year. So we can't do anything about the past, good or bad, but we can influence the future by taking steps now to be able to finish off 2020 in a very significant way. So the first thing we need to do is understand that, irrespective of how personal this business can be, it is a relationship business. It does boil down to the numbers, and you need to be able to understand numbers to make sure that you can develop a mindset and a business plan that's going to allow you to earn the kind of money that you want to earn. So we're going to talk about the numbers. This will be interesting for the analyticals in the group. But this is not all just for analyticals. There is certainly components in here that are going to appeal to all of you expressives and amiables as well. Pretty basic stuff, but we need to understand what the average transaction is going to do for you. And you need to know, so right now, the current average sales price year to date in 2020, keys wide, is $654,000. It's a little higher in Key West than it is in the rest of the Keys, but it's fairly stable across the Keys, from the upper Keys to the middle Keys to the lower Keys to Key West. Key West is the highest, lower Keys is the lowest. But for purposes of our discussion here, you can use this number. And we know, except for the commission cutting that is unfortunately going on, the average commission that you guys are going to be able to achieve as a result of the average transaction is $19,624. So just under $20,000 per transaction side. So and based on paying your transaction fee and transaction costs, and an average split, which company average split is about 70% across the board, you're going to earn a little less than $13,000 per closed transaction side. And we all know there's two sides to every transaction, listing side and the selling side. So there's about $40,000, almost $40,000 total associated with each closed sale, which is composed of a listing side and a selling side. And so to be able to develop a business plan, you guys can understand that, for instance, if you have a goal here, and again, we're going to be talking about the next 4 months really. September is kind of a bonus month, but the last quarter of this year. So allow you guys to include September and be able to, there were some chats there so who had a chat here? Good morning, Brian, Diane, okay. Audio quality is a little muffled, so you want to move a little closer. Is that better for you guys if I, right there, hopefully it is. So, one more, let's see if that's good. Yes. Okay. So if you guys want to make $50,000 in the fourth quarter, you got to close or book essentially 4 transactions. So we're going to talk about booking your money, your earnings in the fourth quarter. Some of these may not close in the fourth quarter because the average, if you take a listing today, it takes 119 days on average for that listing to sell. So while you may be able to get that listing under contract, it's very likely that it might not close until 2021. So we're going to talk about how you can book listings and sales transactions during the fourth quarter here to earn whatever it is that you decide you want to earn. So if you want to earn 50 grand, you got to book 4 transactions. You want to earn 100 grand, book 8 transactions. Not too difficult math exercise there. So based on the standard conversion metrics, if you want to book 4 closed transaction sides on the buyer side, you're going to have to work with at least 6 qualified buyers. Even today, in this kind of a market, you're not going to be able to convert every one of the buyers that you're dealing with. So you have to anticipate that you're going to have to kiss more frogs than you're going to be able to take home at the end of the day. Same thing on the listing side. So you're going to have to work with 6 qualified buyers with the hopes of that resulting in 4 buyer-controlled sales between now and the end of the year. Same thing on the listing side. You're going to have to get 6 good, well-priced listings from motivated sellers. Get 4 of those sold in between now and the end of the year. Every listing that you take is not going to be current, especially today, from necessarily a motivated seller. I see a number of the new listings coming on the market being well overpriced, largely because sellers are trying to understand this market and be able to take advantage of it. And the agents, in many cases that they're working with, are willing to take a listing at any price today just to get a listing, and haven't necessarily managed that seller's expectations very well. So we are seeing, in my view, some overpriced listings right now. So especially today, if you can get a well-priced listing, it's going to sell. We all know that. So we talked about timeframes for getting those listings closed. So 119 days is the expectation. So understand this, guys, that if you have a listing and it's more than 119 days on the market, there's something wrong with it. And the only thing that can be is price. Price will accommodate condition, features, benefits. Every property that you list will sell if it's priced right. The Every Day Until It's Sold marketing program results in sales of more properties than the next 6 companies combined. So the system is in place for you guys to be able to expose your properties to the market. So we can't really blame marketing for the lack of listing selling. The single thing that is going to stop you from getting your listing sold is price. And obviously, in a market like we're in right now, where sellers' expectations are beyond the pale in certain cases, and you're finding sellers that are not motivated to sell unless they can get a premium price, that becomes a little bit more difficult. So we have to manage those sellers' expectations in a market like this. So, and we know buyer sales take typically 45 to 60 days to close. So even if we book a sale in the last 4 months of this year, we may not be able to close it, but what we're talking about today is booking listings sold and buyer-controlled sales, irrespective of when they're going to sell. So we got to focus on now to be able to. We are going to end up here with a business plan that you guys can fill out, and we'll talk about all the features of that business plan so that you guys can make sure that you can create a business plan that is actually going to be able to work for you. We're going to talk about the single most important thing to be able to create that business plan. I'm going to share with you the biggest secret, not only in real estate, but probably in your life today, which many of you are aware of, but amazingly, many of you haven't even taken the time to go and listen to, and we'll talk about that in a minute here. So this is probably one of the most important discussions that we could have in business today, and it is about what is important to you. So now that we understand what the average transaction side is going to earn us in today's market, and $13,000, which is the number I'm going to use here for this discussion, is a pretty significant amount of money by any stretch, by anybody's measure. Certainly there are agents, the average sales price in the Keys is over twice what it is nationally. So you guys have to do half the transactions to earn the same money as the average agent in North America, which is pretty exciting. So we don't have to work so hard here as some people in other areas to make the kind of money that you can make, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So we have to focus on the activities that you guys are going to be willing to commit to in the next 4 months to be able to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. So let's talk about some of what those activities are. Buyer open houses, I think they are going to start to become more and more popular. They are going to start to become something that people will attend now as the number of cases and the number of deaths starts to go down significantly, both in the Keys and in Florida and across the country, except for some hot spots. So these are the numbers, and the discussion right now that we're involved in is knowing the numbers. So we know that each transaction side is going to earn us about $13,000. We need to now understand how the activities that we're going to participate in, commit to participate in, are going to lead to getting a listing taken or a buyer controlled sale. So agents often think about open houses only in the context of trying to attract a buyer. I think that they're missing half of the quotient there. Open houses are just important for sellers in the neighborhood, especially when there are more and more sellers in the Keys, which you're going to start to see in the fourth quarter of this year. You're going to see more and more sellers coming down for the season or opening their houses for the season, lots of times, as we know. So people start to think about listing their houses in the fourth quarter. The peak in the number of listings is in the early part of the first quarter of the year, but most of those decisions are being made in many cases in the fourth quarter. So we've got to be out there and make sure that we can be in front of sellers, and one of the ways to get in front of sellers physically is through open houses. So what can you expect if you're going to do an open house? So here are the numbers. We don't have good numbers for 2020 because obviously a good part of the year was usurped by the pandemic. But last year, you guys conducted 760 open houses with almost 4,000 attendees and 455 leads. So we track these numbers for you. We collect them because we believe it's important for you guys to understand your numbers. So just so you know, we as a management team, all of the assistant managers, Ruth, myself, Steve, Nicole, we have a call every Monday, and that's all we focus on are the numbers. We talk about the number of folks that walked in the front door, the number of folks that called you guys about real estate information, the number of visitors to our websites, the number of people who looked at your paradigm tours, the number of folks who opened your personal profiles on a weekly basis so that we can understand what the trends are. We believe that's important for us because, as you know, we have set goals for ourselves, and we went over those last week in our discussion of what our goals are for the company. And those goals continue to drive us and continue to make sure that we're out there trying to provide better quality services and products for you guys so that the company can continue to grow. And so far this year, we have outperformed the market. We've consolidated a little bit more market share. So some of the things we've done have been effective in that regard. But it starts with being able to understand what the numbers are for yourself. And so you need to understand whether open houses is a strategy that you want to participate in. So it boils down to the fact that you can expect on average about 5 visitors per open house and 1 lead for every 2 open houses. That's a buyer or a seller lead. So those are the kinds of metrics that you can expect to achieve by committing to do open houses. Not a great return on your time, but it is certainly an activity that can be productive for you if you do it consistently. You can leverage the effectiveness of your open houses by doing door hangers on all the properties in the neighborhood. That's again a focus not just on buyers but on sellers in the neighborhood, because one of the benefits of doing open houses is to communicate directly to all the folks who live in that neighborhood, who own homes in that neighborhood, the fact that you're actively doing business and that you're looking for business. And that's the kind of activity that sellers like to see. So, so let's talk a little bit about internet leads. So you can buy internet leads. You guys, I don't know how many of you guys are buying leads from Zillow or Realtor.com, or we have at the company level, we have pay-per-click programs in place. We track those numbers every week as well. Steve has a huge spreadsheet of those numbers. We look at those numbers again every week to understand how effective some of those pay-per-click programs are and how they contribute to the overall viewership of your listings company-wide. So conversion ratios for internet leads that you buy or that you otherwise get is pretty low. It's much less actually typically than 5%. A really good agent might be able to drive it up to 3 or 4%. So you're gonna, again, have to kiss a lot of frogs to find a real buyer or a real seller out of all those internet leads. Today, those numbers, and we don't have the metrics on those numbers are probably better today than they were in the past, because most buyers and sellers are driven to the internet, and it's their single best source for understanding what's going on in the marketplace, what's available, who's working. So those numbers may actually be better right now. So cold calling. So there's both cold calls and warm calls. Cold calls are calls to people you don't know. Warm calls are calls to people that you do know, people in your SOI. So great to do, and there are scripts which we'll look at here. We'll show you where to find those for just listed, just sold, price changes, pending, contingent, for all those things that happen in the real estate market that typically buyers and sellers are interested in. And you can make calls to buyers and sellers who you don't know to see if you can convert them to being a customer of yours. So this is probably the most difficult route to go. There are some agents who cold call on a regular and consistent basis and have some results. You do have to make a lot of calls. It is a difficult emotional process, but for those folks who are strong enough, it can work for you. There are agents in the Keys and everywhere that make most of their money through cold calling. Tough way to go, but but certainly can be very productive for you if you guys are willing to commit to it. You can find most of the phone numbers now in the white pages. It's much easier to find those numbers. The single most effective thing that all of you can do is to communicate with your SOI. We try and impress upon you, based on all of the metrics, again, that we get from the Service First evaluations, how important past customers and clients feel these communications are. Over 70% of your business is going to come from people that you already know. That's a statistic that works for us based on all of the information that we have, the information that we collect, and that's a number that National Association of Realtors statistics would support as well. So again, the most important, most productive thing that you can do is to continue to work with your SOI, because those are the folks that are going to refer business to you. Those are the folks. So when we look at those Service First evaluations, for instance, and you see how many people checked the box that says referred by a friend, I mean, it's staggering to me every time we look at those. And we'll be looking at those probably, I don't know if we'll look at those tomorrow or next Wednesday. Since today is the first of the month, we're trying to collate all the information from last month. So we will either look at those numbers tomorrow or next Wednesday so that you guys can understand what's been important to buyers and sellers in the past month as a result of what they tell us through the Service First evaluation sent to both buyers and sellers. Because of all the activity, we've got a significant number of those this month to talk about. So the sample size is going to be pretty significant, and I think the evidence of what they're going to be talking about is going to be that much. So referrals, we've had a significant increase in the number of referrals This past month and over the same month last year, largely as a result of the contest, which tells me that things happen if you focus on them. So, we don't have 100% more outgoing referrals in the past 60 or 90 days just because it happened. It was because we talked about it as a function of the contest. Conversion ratios for referrals are obviously very high. These are folks who are known to want to buy or sell. So the ability of you guys to go out and reach out and network for referrals is going to be an important component of your business. You need to think about it every day. You need to think about every seller that you talk to. I mean, I talk to a seller who lives on my street, and I don't have his house listed. Some of our agents do, and he came to me and said, "Hey, do you know an agent in where he wanted to go because he wanted to start looking for homes?" Well, I don't think I'm the one that should have referred him to another agent. I think his own agent should have done that. So obviously I contacted them so that they could get him a quality agent to get a referral so that they can get future business from that same seller who's selling his house here. So those agents just did not think about their business and have a plan to be able to leverage their seller into a referral for a buying side transaction. So floor time can be effective. Many of you guys have gotten business there. The only way it's going to be productive for you is if you have other activities that you're going to do while you're on floor. There are some good leads that come in for buyers and sellers from floor, but if you're sitting there waiting for those leads without anything productive to do, like calling your sphere of influence, communicating, sending emails, texts, doing Facebook posts to your sphere, all those activities are things that you can do while you're waiting for a buyer or seller to walk in the door. Farming can be very effective for you guys. We have a number of agents who farm geographic farms. You can farm a geographic farm. You can farm a price point farm. You can farm a type of property, for instance, condos. You can, a price point farm would be homes, for instance, that would be tax assessed over a specific number, let's say $1 million. You can identify those keys wide and you can communicate with those folks about our LIP program. Just so you guys know, we sell more than 1/3 of all the luxury properties outside of Key West. So essentially, of all the waterfront luxury homes you guys sell or participate in the transactions of more than 1 out of every 3 of those properties, and that's more than the next 7 companies combined. If that's not something that a seller of a luxury home would be compelled to talk to you about, I don't know what would be. The problem is that they don't know that number because you haven't shared it with them. So if you're out there and you're farming to that group of folks, you have something very compelling to tell them about. So what about FSBOs? 90% of FSBOs ultimately list. The reason that they're FSBOs is because they've had either bad experience with agents or they don't see value in what you guys provide to them. You guys need to change that. Most agents knock on the FSBO door and they ask for the listing, which is obviously not going to be effective in most cases unless you catch them at the absolute right moment. You need to develop a relationship with those FSBOs, make sure that they understand that you're there to help them and that you that's going to take more than one visit. So we will be talking about the various strategies and tactics associated with how you can convert a FSBO into a listing. Expireds, obviously everybody is looking for expireds. 100% of them virtually will relist with someone. The question is, will it be you or somebody else? Part of that is sometimes a function of who gets to them first. So you need to make sure that you are looking at those expireds every day and that you have a compelling expired listing package to be able to send to them by email. If you can get an email address or by snail mail so that they can understand that you can provide them a higher quality of service, which you can by virtue. So every one of you can provide every seller in this marketplace a higher quality of service than they previously experienced And you can demonstrate that because you have an everyday and sold marketing program that sells more houses than the next 5 companies combined. You have a marketing program, well, every company has a marketing program, but you have one with results that far exceed the results of any other company. So that in itself is something that I think is compelling to every one of these expireds. If they are not currently listed with a Coldwell Banker agent, they're not getting the everyday until it's the benefits of the everyday until it's sold marketing program. I can't tell you how social media posts and social media is going to be able to impact on your business, as well as some of the folks out there who do employ these tactics, but I do know that they are very effective, and that you guys need to get your arms around them. I'm not the guy to talk to about that, but I can tell you if you're not there, you're missing out on a lot of activity. BBA presentations. So you know, we communicate with you guys every week the conversion ratios for your BBA so that you can understand how much money is associated with getting a commitment from a buyer in exchange for you providing them with a higher level of service. So there are lots of buyers out there that we deal with. We need to convert those buyers into buyers that have actually signed a contract with you. And everything we're going to focus on here in terms of you developing a business plan and the activities that are going to support that business plan are a function of getting a signature. Everything that you do in this business to make money requires a signature. So just think about, boil it all down to the essential thing that you need to do every day, which is to get somebody to sign something, whether it's a listing agreement, a price change, buyer broker agreement, a referral. You cannot make any money in this business without getting somebody to sign something. So pretty easy, at least in my mind, is to boil this down to what you need to try and accomplish on a daily basis to reach your goal. And that is to get somebody to sign a document that's going to allow you to make money, because you can't make money without it. How many price reductions do you need to make your existing listing saleable? Even today, we are seeing a significant number of price reductions for our listings to be able to attract the buyer. Those numbers were very, very high compared to previous years. We tracked those numbers. The average price reduction was running 6 to 7% during the term of the listing. We'll have to see what those numbers boil down to as a result of meetings. Will end in 10 minutes, which means the trial, our rep is on his honeymoon. So we're done in 10 minutes, Steve?
Yeah, it just popped up on my screen saying that we had, well, now it's less than 10 minutes. So it must mean that the date that they put in for the trial has lapsed, and there's no way I can get a hold of our rep right now. So we might have to start a second meeting, in which case I will email everybody a new link if this one terminates.
Okay, well, we'll finish up this section here, which is something that everybody can think about. So you guys need to understand what is going to be the most efficient use of your time relative to the activities that you're going to commit to do over the next 4 months to reach your goals that you are going to establish for yourself based on knowing. So if you know, best way to do a business plan, in my view, in terms of filling out and we'll get to that here, is to start with a number that you guys want to make, and then work backwards to how many listings and buyer controlled sales you need to do, and then work backward from that to understand how many activities you're going to need to do to support getting those buyer controlled sales or those listings. You can do it the other way as well. But I think it's easier to start with the number and work backwards. So we got 4 months remaining in this year to be able to finish this year strong to allow you guys to make the money that you need to do. None of that is going to happen unless you have a daily schedule that's going to include prospecting, lead follow-up, previewing property, which is understanding the market. You can preview the properties out there both physically and via the internet now pretty well, which is the way most people do it. Returning messages, then doing some training in the afternoon, calling sellers, prospecting, and then trying to have a life. So you guys need to develop a daily schedule that's going to allow you time to perform the activities that you guys are going to commit to. Without, if it's not on your schedule, it's just not going to happen. I mean, that's just human nature, folks. So you need to schedule these activities. You need to do them every day consistently, because consistency is the key to achieving your goals. And if you think about these every day and why you can't do them, and you're going to be able to talk yourself out of it. You just need to develop a schedule and blindly follow it, do the activities, and you will get the results. So there are lots of scripts that'll help you here, which are all in the documents library. Is a list of the pre-qualifying scripts, presentations, listing plans, all kinds of resources for you guys, objection handlers, so that you can respond to the common objections, and we'll be going through all these in a future program here. So all of this is going to be available, is available to you right now, and we're going to be doing this separately. So this is the first part of the three-part discussion that we're going to have here today, assuming we can get back on another call. That's going to allow you guys to develop a plan that's going to allow you to make the kind of money you want to make in the next 4 months. First thing you got to do is understand the numbers, the metrics. Second thing you got to do is understand what activities you're going to commit to support that. And then you're going to have to schedule those activities so that you can make sure they happen. You're then going to have to spend a little bit of time making sure that you have the dialogues at the tip of your tongue to be able to make these presentations, handle the objections, be able to accommodate the business that you're going to generate through talking to all these folks that you're going to be communicating with. So, Steve, are we just going to wait for this to?
We have about a minute and a half. We have a minute and a half before this meeting ends. I just emailed everyone an invitation to a next meeting. It should be in your inboxes momentarily with a 10:30 start time.
Okay, good. Thanks, Steve. So this is the single most important thing that I believe I could share with you about the real estate business is this one page right here. Nothing more that we could talk about that I could share with you that I think is more valuable to you in your business career and in your life. This is something that I think is fundamental. It is, and Steve will be emailing you guys the recording that will help you understand this, which is a recording of Mr. Nightingale, which is a book that he wrote, well, actually a recording that he made, oh God, back in the 50s, called The Strangest Secret. You'll get that recording, which is about a 30-minute recording, which will help you understand that you become what you think about. So if you don't understand what you want, you're not going to be able to achieve the goals that you set for yourself, because they're not going to be important enough for you until you can